Today we're going to cook some rigatoni with sausage, spinach, goat cheese, a little Parmesan cheese, some baby tomatoes. Super simple, straightforward dish that really hits all sides of the palate. We are going to start with some sausage. I have a combination of both sweet sausage and spicy sausage. You could use both. You could use one or the other, whatever your preference is. We're going to peel the casing off the exterior of this sausage before we crumble it up. And then we're going to cook it in this pan with some onions. I'll show you how to cut those onions momentarily. So, casing off the sausage. Again, this is spicy, delicious stuff. Just put it like that. Sausage on the side. All right, we have an onion. I'm going to cut the stem off. Cut this in half, peel this onion, just take that first layer off. Medium-sized onion is good enough for this. If you want to use a smaller onion, if you don't like onions at all, I completely understand how that goes. It's important that we develop the flavor on these onions properly. So here we go. This is the way I like to cut these onions. I cut them into thirds like that, right? Into thirds, and then very fine, I cut them into kind of like a small julienne. And I like the way these cook up. I like the sweetness that's extracted out of these onions. I like to go end to end when I cut an onion. I don't like it cross-cut, personally. It's all personal preferences. So that's more than enough onion for this, and we're not going to use all of that. Boiling water, large saute pan, extra virgin olive oil inside the pan, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. Normally, I would add a touch of crushed red pepper with these onions as I saute them, but because I have a spicy sausage, I'm not going to do that. So instead, what we're going to do is, if you can take these onions inside that hot saute pan, just add them nicely to that. I'm going to add a pinch of salt to the onions themselves. I don't want to season this too much because there's a lot of seasoning in the actual sausage, and there's a lot of flavor that's going to come from the rigatoni when it's cooked in this pasta water. So there's a lot of stuff already going on. Season as we go, but don't over season, please. Take into consideration that there's a little bit of a reduction that's happening here. There's a lot of different things that are very, very spicy. Pasta water is on. That's coming to a boil. We're going to add enough salt to this so it tastes like broth. Just enough so it tastes like broth. I got about 1.5 gallons of water here, probably about 2.5 tablespoons of salt, give or take. This is a pretty quick dish. This is really start to finish, shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. Once you have your water at a boil, everything is gonna kind of come pretty quickly. I have pasta, rigatoni here, dry rigatoni. If you want to use a fresh rigatoni, you're more than welcome to do that. Obviously, that it's going to change your cook time significantly. I think this is about a 12-minute cook time on the rigatoni itself. What I prefer when it comes to cooking pasta is I cook it about 85–90% of the way in the water, and then I finish it in the pan with some of the pasta cooking liquid. So the fat, the starch, and the liquid that are in this pan are what it's going to cause, that's what's going to cause the sauce to happen. So little things like that that are really important to point out. This pasta water is cooking. I'm going to add the pasta now. As this all cooks, the pasta is going to be in the water cooking simultaneously, so it's all kind of like a bang, bang, bang. Everything's happening at the same time. So pasta's in the water. I always cook pasta with a wooden spoon, and you should too. It is one of the necessary items to have if you're going to cook pasta. I always say, if you don't know how to make this like a grandmother, like someone's nonna, then you don't know how to make it. So make it the right way. So the pan is going, onions are cooking, sausage is in the pan. I'm going to use a fork to break up this sausage so it has nice little bits. Not too fine, but fine enough that it's not one huge bite of sausage in your mouth when you're eating the pasta. Lots of good stuff. Again, these flavors are just classic Italian-American flavor of sausage with fennel, sausage with chilies inside of it, crushed red pepper, all that stuff. We're going to crisp this up a touch, and then we're going to stop the cooking by adding some of this pasta cooking liquid. Meanwhile, going to stir this pasta one more time, make sure that it's cooking up nicely. Again, about a 12-minute cook time on that pasta. We're going to take it out at about 10 and a half, 11 minutes, finish cooking it the rest of the way in this actual pan with the sausage. The sausage is cooked through. I'm going to deglaze this pan with some pasta cooking liquid. What's turning brown here is all the beautiful caramelization of your sugars. You want to deglaze that so that it comes out into the sauce, and that's where more flavors develop. So I'm going to turn this fire down to really, really low while that pasta cooks. What you see here is the pasta water with the fat, and it starts to create that emulsion. All right, pasta's cooking. We're gonna cut a little bit of parsley. So what I did here is I put this little mat down to put this cutting board on top of, so the cutting board doesn't move when I cut it. Also, this is the same cutting board that I use for my sausage. I flipped it over so there's no cross-contamination of raw pork product and the parsley in this case, which is not going to be cooked a lot. So what I do with this parsley is I just take off the leaves. I don't want to use these stems. The stems are a little bit fibrous. They have really good flavor, so you could use them for a stock or you could use them for a sauce or something like that, but you don't want to necessarily chop those stems up and use them in your pasta because they're a little too fibrous. They don't have that beautiful freshness, I would say, of the leaves themselves. So I have some leaves. I'll show you how we chop that momentarily. What you're going to do when you chop this parsley is you just bunch it all up, just like that in your fingers, and then very, very fine shred that parsley. So it's in long strips, and you could smell that beautiful scent, that grass-like scent of parsley as you're chopping it. And then just cross-cut it, just like that. Nothing more, nothing less. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfection. It's only about extraction of flavor. All right. The tomatoes that we use for this, you could use the smallest tomatoes you could find. If you can't find small tomatoes, you could use cherry tomatoes, sunburst tomatoes, teardrop tomatoes. Any small tomato will work for this. Sausage is cooking, pasta's cooking. The easiest way to know when your pasta is done is to look at the box. A lot of people say when you're cooking pasta, you should add oil to the pasta water as it's cooking. It's a myth. You don't need to do it. Good quality pasta just needs to be boiled. It doesn't need oil to make it not stick. So as this pasta is cooking, we have this beautiful liquid emulsified with the fat from the sausage itself. It's all flavor. You want to keep this in there as much as possible. So I think this pasta is almost done. This is a great way to tell if this pasta is done. If you cut it in half and you see a little ring of raw pasta in the center of it, you know that the pasta is almost there. This pasta is perfect to take out of the pot right now. I happen to love a simple pasta cooked in salt water. I mean, it's just one of my favorite things. Residual liquid, we're just gonna finish a little bit of that inside here. When you're cooking this much, you may not be able to toss it. So I have a wooden spoon here just to show you how you could do that. But again, what you really want to do here is make sure that this pasta is cooking in those juices and absorbing all that liquid, but simultaneously the starch is being released into those juices and creating a beautiful sauce. So we're like that. We got this parsley here. I'm gonna add a little bit of the parsley to let it cook together. That parsley is one of the most underutilized herbs as far as I'm concerned. There's so much beautiful flavor in parsley, in fresh parsley, that you don't need other herbs inside here. So I'm just gonna very rough cut some spinach. I love this. I love these flavors together. I'm gonna add the spinach to this dish. I'm gonna add just a touch more of this pasta cooking liquid. I'm going to add these tomatoes to it so that you see that all this this makes me happy. This just makes me happy. It's good. It's just good. All right. What I'm going to do is finish this with a little bit of goat cheese. So, really important point. If I just move this spoon back and you see all that, there's not a lot of liquid here, but there's a little bit of liquid, right? Every single piece of spinach is cooked. The sausage, full extraction of flavor. It's all good. I'm going to add a little bit of goat cheese to this. I'm going to just crumble this goat cheese up. What I like to do is keep this goat cheese nice and cold, and that way it crumbles really nicely when I'm about to put it on the pasta itself. Flame is off underneath. Once we take it off the fire, Parmesan cheese right over the top. And we are good to go. I mean, what else do you want? This is the thing of beauty. I love it. So this is rigatoni, sausage, goat cheese, Parmesan cheese, a little bit of spinach, baby tomatoes. I mean, this is just kind of the perfect weeknight dinner, really quick and easy to make. You get that balance of sweet and spicy sausage. You got a little pop of flavor from the parsley and the spinach. The beautiful tomatoes kind of burst in your mouth. The texture of the rigatoni is right on point. It's a thing of beauty. I hope you like it as much as I do.